All right, we're back at it today talking through some must-start running backs for Week 8 fantasy football. As always, these are guys with good matchups, good situations, and I feel very comfortable and confident with them in my lineups for this week's game. So with that being said, we're not going to waste too much time. Let's get cooking, and let's dive right in. All right, as always, I'll be doing a quick recap of my picks from the prior week. We had ourselves a very, very good time picking running backs for this week. Spoiler alert, go check out the must-sit running backs episode as well. We went 100% this week. All of our picks in the running backs category for this week hit. Now, there's a small asterisk next to these picks. We did go 4 out of 4 in each category. One of our players in the sits was ruled out, that being J.K. Dobbins. Therefore, he's taken out of the picture there for the starts here. We had Christian McCaffrey get traded for in favor of Jeff Wilson heading into the game. So obviously, I hope you guys did not continue to start Jeff Wilson. We post this video every week on Wednesday mornings. That news occurred Thursday evening. So 36 or so hours after posting that video, that news came through, and obviously that changes things drastically. So dropping him from that, but Ken Walker, Stevenson, Raheem Mostert, and one more player that I cannot read my handwriting, Zeke, actually went very, very good for that week's game. So 4 out of 4 there. Very proud of that moving into this week. A running back I'm super excited about here is Travis Etienne. Of course, other big blockbuster trade news at the running back position. J-Rob has been hiked on out of Jacksonville, and now he is a member of the New York Football Jets. So this is only positive things for Travis Etienne here. He looked literally like he had taken over the backfield last week and that this was going to be his unit going forward. He had an 80% snap share. He's had 3 straight weeks of premium efficient play, 7 or more yards per carry in those 3 straight contests. And now he's in a situation where his top competition for touches is JaMychal Hasty. So I'm anticipating premium workhorse opportunities. Now, that might look a little bit different than it does for some other running backs. Kind of the usage I've comped to him in the past has been Alvin Kamara. I know they have different play styles and they're very different players, but this is a very skillful receiving back, a guy who is a quarterback's very good friend out of the backfield in check down situations. He's seen 5 targets in 2 of his last 3 games. Then he's starting to get incorporated more in that phase of things. So for that aspect, that's where I draw that comparison. He's been a very efficient rusher as well, as I pointed out. He had a big 50-yard run this past week, and he's been ripping off those big carries left and right here. This offensive line is a little bit underrated on their ability to get running backs out on the perimeter. So Etienne, super excited. We haven't even talked through the matchup yet. It's Denver this week in a weird London game, so we're going back overseas to play some of these contests. That's always a unique curveball to throw into things, the traveling and the jet lag and all that. But if anything, I feel more comfortable in Jacksonville this week than I do in a Denver team that is on the ropes right now. And supposedly, Coach Nathaniel Hackett will be toast if they do not win that game. So feeling good about the Jags here. Game script shouldn't be a big factor. They are 2.5-point favorites, but for me, again, doesn't really factor into the analysis too much there. Miles Sanders coming off a bye week here in Week 7, moving into Week 8, taking on Pittsburgh at home. I love this matchup for Miles. This is a Pittsburgh defense that has been sorry against the run. They're almost a bottom third unit. They are 23rd versus opposing fantasy football running backs right now. And the Philadelphia Eagles are currently favored by 10.5 points. So that is a huge margin that points to an extremely positive game script for a fantasy running back here that can kind of wind the game out and run things down in the second half of this contest. If he's in on the party early and continues to be effective and productive down the stretch of this game, this could be a very impactful lineup week for Miles here for a player that's been very efficient with the exception of his last 2 games out here, a guy who's getting more of the opportunity share of Philadelphia's backfield. And again, the offensive line versus defensive line mismatch between these 2 teams, having the bye week to rest and get healthier, it's all stuff that contributes to my positive view of Sanders and this football team here. And again, the game script is the big thing that moves the needle for me off a bye week, just expecting fresh play and overall a talent mismatch in terms of the line of scrimmage battle. Raheem Mostert, he's been doing us well here in these must-start episodes. Right now, this Miami offense caters very well to Raheem. And for getting him out in space in these zone running plays, you see his ability to hit the hole hard and fast. and he's been doing really good things there. And you saw this last week. He got off to a tear, started really hot in that game, did cool down over the course of the game as the whole Dolphins offense did. But this week at Detroit, they are really, really poor. 31st against fantasy running backs. The opportunity will be there and to be had for Raheem Mostert. He's been seeing quality usage, as well as of late, 60% of the snap share or more in 4 straight contests. He went 16 for 79 and a touchdown, and he has 4.6 yards per carry or higher in 3 of his last 4 games. So the productivity as of late has been showing, obviously, that he's a hot player right now. And the matchup stacks up as well. They are 3.5 point favorites, on the road this week in Ford Field. Zeke Elliott, we're going back to him here for this matchup. Chicago travels to Dallas to play the Cowboys. I like this matchup again for Zeke this week. Chicago is 27th against fantasy football running backs in terms of scoring points allowed to them. They are 9.5, this being the Dallas Cowboys, 9.5 point favorites. So over a touchdown, nearly a touchdown and a field goal favorites here. That's big news. Now, do I think that number is going to come down? Yes, I think that kind of the public perception after seeing Chicago in a standalone game is that that's just going to draw that number down. People are going to overvalue Justin Fields in that Chicago offense. But I do think that Dallas controls the tempo of this contest and keeps Chicago at bay. And what we saw this past week is that early in Dak Prescott's recovery process, and he even said himself, he took a page out of Cooper Rush's book here, he knows he doesn't have to do too much. This defense is hellacious here, and I think that it would be almost impossible for Justin Fields to not struggle against that group. Almost nearly every single player besides Jalen Hurts in the first half of the Eagles and Cowboys matchup has been kind of stifled. So I think that the game script, again, is a positive here. Zeke's had 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. It is a bit risky to gamble on that to occur again this week. I do think that's something that needs to be at play. You're going to want to see those goal line carries. So by all means, if you feel like you have a stronger running back who can put up 10-plus points without scoring a touchdown, I'm swinging in that direction here. But I do feel good about the opportunity. I do think that this defense is in spots. You're able to move the football. They did make some plays on Monday Night Football against the New England Patriots. However, like I said, Dak Prescott knows his role here. He knows he doesn't have to carry this offense right now, or this football team, rather. I mean, he probably is, the motor of this offensive unit, but the defense is where this Cowboys football team makes their money. So defense and run the ball, that's going to be the name of the game here. Maybe Tony Pollard rips some big runs as well, but for me, I'm going to lean towards the volume a little bit here and the goal line utility and Zeke. That's where I think the value is to be had. And then finally, Rhamondre Stevenson. Now, some of you might want to argue that, he's obviously a must-start candidate at this point in time, but this is more so me slapping him in here as a reaffirmation of the things that we hoped would be the case entering into Week 8. So you had Week 7 where Damien Harris was notching full practice participations and looked like he was going to be back, and that raised a lot of questions. Is Rhamondre Stevenson still the dude in New England's backfield? Is he still the lead workhorse back? All that stuff. How much is his snap count percentage going to go down upon Harris's return? And while it was just a 1-game sample size, he was logging full practices. So for me, I think that if Bill wanted to play him, he could have cut him all the way loose. And Rhamondre still walked out there and had a 77% snap count percentage, and Damien Harris was below a 20% snap count percentage. So you're seeing a situation here where Stevenson is clearly the guy for this offense. That at least is my assessment of things going forward. Again, it was a small sample size, so it's not like Damien Harris is totally just washed out of here and, you're never going to see him again. Of course, if something happens to Rhamondre Stevenson, that makes Damien Harris an incredibly valuable running back too in fantasy. But going forward, this is where I'm going to kind of put my eggs in the Stevenson basket. The guy that can catch the football better, the guy that has the size to continue being a goal line back. He scored a touchdown this week as well. He actually had his poorest game in terms of overall efficiency since Week 1. 11 rushes, 39 yards, 3.55 yards per carry. So despite that inefficiency, he was still able to get the job done and be a viable play for us. So there you guys have it, my 5 must-starts for this week. Again, Travis Etienne against Denver, Sanders taking on Pittsburgh at home, Raheem Mostert on the road playing the Lions, Zeke Elliott versus Chicago, and Raheem Mostert. I just said Raheem Mostert. Rhamondre Stevenson taking on the Jets. So, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more fantasy episodes later today. You'll see my start and sit running back and receiver episodes in the Week 8 fantasy football playlist. That is live on the SFS channel right now. So, go check that stuff out. Go check out some of our other videos from this week, and I'll see you there. Peace out.